Hey guys, Dale here. We're finally getting to the review on this Master Supply Co. Daytona Reload jacket. Feels like the unboxing was done a lifetime ago, and in some ways it kind of was. I moved across the country, and I've been really trying to get in some wear on this jacket, but it's been hot because it's been the summer. But I feel like we've finally reached a point where I could have a good opinion on the features and functionality and so on for this jacket. So we're going to do that. We're going to do the review. We're going to go through all the details, and we're going to finish with my thoughts on is it worth it, the $450, the price tag. But before we do that, there is a bit of a clarification or apology in order, which is this jacket here. I did an unboxing video on this jacket, and I had always intended to, during this review, give more details about the jacket, including how I got it, which is this jacket I did not pay for. Now, I did buy the Daytona 224, which I unboxed and gave my thoughts on previously. And during that process, I decided that the jacket wasn't for me because I didn't really like the leather, and I was considering whether I should be getting a different jacket from Master Supply Co. to review or not. Well, the folks at Master Supply Co., when I released those videos, and also I'm posting on Instagram about that Daytona 224 that I had gotten, they actually reached out to me. We had kind of a conversation about the jacket. I told them what I thought about it, especially if you watch the previous video on the 224, my concerns around kind of the bulkiness of the pockets and some of the other finishing things. And a kind of interesting development, they actually have completely reworked the way that they handle the pockets, at least partially due to my input, I have to imagine. They at least said it was. Maybe just empty flattery. I did not get that impression. And they've moved now to a vertical interior slit pocket here on the side, rather than this horizontal pocket with the bulky stuff around it. Actually, for this particular jacket, they removed some of the piping. There was some piping interior here. They completely reworked the pocket over time. And in fact, for this jacket, I requested that they not include a right side pocket so I could even see what it was like without a pocket at all. So they sent this jacket to me for free, which is the disclosure that in retrospect, I wish I had made when making the unboxing video for this jacket. Because a couple people kind of asked about it, and I realized, man, while not trying to be obscuring things or deceptive, it could have come off that way. So I apologize about that. The core of this video, let's get on to it, which is let's review the jacket. What do I think about it? How does it work its way through these categories that we look at when we're looking at what makes a jacket? Okay, and so first off, we talk about the leather, because this is a leather jacket. We want to know about what it's made out of. So the leather on this jacket is a 1.5 millimeter cowhide, according to the Master Supply Co. folks. And it is a very kind of grainy cowhide. It is thick, but very soft and supple. And from a intrinsic beauty standpoint, I kind of find that this leather is a little bit boring. I do think that it is easy wearing, and I find that it looks good. Especially, I feel like it looks very good in pictures and videos, which if you've been following my content, you've seen some of those about this particular jacket. And the leather itself, I just think is okay. And I think that would be expected at the price point. So it's not shockingly amazing hide here. It is still a low mid-grade hide that they're working with, because that's the price point that they're dealing with here. Again, it's a $450 jacket for context. Other materials the jacket is made of. This lining, it's cotton, twill, and I actually like the lining on this Reload a lot more than the lining that was on the 224, which was a paisley kind of nylon. And I feel like nylon is one of those materials that you don't really know what it's going to be like until you actually handle it. And this nylon was not very breathable. It felt like it was trapping heat and moisture, and I felt like putting the jacket on, it didn't really wick away moisture or heat. I got warm wearing it. And the cotton in this jacket is much more comfortable, even if it is not as exciting looking as that really, in my opinion, really cool red paisley pattern that they had in there. This is a much more functional, comfortable lining. So kudos there on the change. Other things the jacket is made of, I mean, it's made of the thread. You know, it's okay. I don't know. It hasn't started wearing apart on me, but I've only been wearing the jacket for a few months. That's the kind of thing that if it's going to break down, I feel like it's going to take a long time to do so, even for relatively cheap threads. And then we have the hardware. So the zippers. This is all zippers, and then they got one snap up here at the top. So this is, my understanding, it's YKK hardware that's been branded with the master labeling, according to Master Supply Co. And I found on this ball and chain zip here, the little YKK branding is on there. And this is something that when I was speaking with Josh from Master Supply Co., he said that they have a desire to change, actually, to get some different leathers and also perhaps other hardware. Something that they're looking into. I think that this is part of their process. They are kind of continually iterating. If you follow their products at all, you'll see that they come out with new versions of things quite often. This hardware has been fine. It's been functional. It's not as robust as like the Talon zips on my Leglets jacket, for example, or my Cal leather. YKK has a good reputation for reliability, in my understanding, but I would love to hear any feedback that folks have about YKK. It is a beefy main zip, and also a relatively beefy sleeve zips. You know, I wish I had actually compared these. I wonder if they're the same size. They appear to be. Intriguing. So, overall, functional hardware with no problems that I've experienced so far. So, a note about this hide and the idea of durability and functionality. So, it's a very comfortable hide because it is so soft and pliable. That softness and pliability essentially has a downside, which is that it is less robust. So this is not a kind of material that I could imagine protecting you in a motorcycle slide, for example. So it is comfortable, but is it really robust? You know, I have worn it in the rain a couple of times. I stayed dry during that rain. So, you know, that's at least partially due to the thickness of it, because at 1.5 millimeters, that is a rather thick leather. But it is so thick and so soft. So it's an interesting place to be. This is definitely not a jacket that is intended, I think, to be a garment actually worn on a motorcycle. And that's okay. I just don't go into it expecting that. This is a fashion jacket. And if you have the impression that this jacket is made for being on a motorcycle, I would discard that. It's not that. So moving on from the materials, let's talk about the construction, how the jacket is put together, how they have taken those materials and made them into a jacket. And so, you know, I think that they have done a pretty good job on the construction, and this is an area where I think still that pocket bulge situation, I still think I don't like it, and I'm glad that they've changed the pocket design on their newer jackets to compare from side to side. It's not the end of the world, I don't think, but if we're talking about preferences, my preference is I don't like that. And I think that hiding the bulk here on that edge of the interior leather, on that border between the leather and the lining, is a smart way to do that, to deal with that. I'd be curious how it feels on the newer jackets. They have some big thread holes here. They have not super fine stitching, but there's no errors in the stitch work that I found. I think that they did a pretty good job of putting the jacket together. And I think that this is the kind of thing where we're talking about jackets made in Pakistan, and there are going to be some aspects of that construction that kind of fall within the standard quality items that you might come across with those Pakistani jackets. One thing that's interesting, and I've held this up, is this typically would come with piping here along the zippers. I asked them to take that off because I was curious about it. I felt like there was too much bulk around the wrist. The way that they had levels of piping, and it's sewn over here on the end next to these sewn over pieces for the zipper. Also with the way that the interior cuff folds over here. And it was just a lot of material at the wrists. That was one of my previous complaints. And it's something where, and I'll have to do a direct comparison video, but if you look at the way that this zipper ends up having, it's almost flat next to the zip. You see that? And this is with reduced bulk because it doesn't have the piping. It's too much material there, I think. And I think that on other jackets that I have, you can even kind of see this lump that has occurred. There are different ways to finish this cuff that it doesn't do that. And I think that this is one of those areas where for a $450 jacket, this is, a construction element that maybe that's part of the lower price. Overall, I feel like the jacket is well put together. And they are also, from a construction standpoint, they're not shying away from using large panels of this leather, even if it's a less expensive leather. You see companies that are really cutting costs or dicing this jacket into a bunch of small bits so that they can have, maybe a back panel that's not this huge back panel in the middle that's maybe cut into 4 or cut into 2 so they can use really small pieces of hide and really kind of skimp and save money in the process. From this, my thoughts here are what could be done further. I'm not a jacket maker, but it makes me want to take apart the sleeve ends on some of my other jackets and see how it is that they make it to where it doesn't do this. Maybe a thought for you guys, Master Supply Co. But kind of in thought about construction, how the jacket is put together, it's completely functional, it's completely fine. The jacket is not falling apart, and it doesn't seem like they're just cutting corners in the process. It's just a kind of less fancy process for production. Let's look at, if you're considering a jacket like this, size, fit. So from a size standpoint, this jacket is a medium. I take a medium in most US things. Let's look at how this jacket fits onto me. This is not a standard medium though. And I think that this jacket looks good from a fitment standpoint. It feels good from a fitment standpoint. And I didn't actually realize this when I was making the first videos about the Daytona 224, but in my discussion with the folks at Master Supply, they actually shared that you can modify the dimensions on the jacket. And so it actually really helped that I was able to wear a 224 and see where it was too long for me. Namely, I felt the body was too long and the sleeves were a little too long. And whenever we were ordering this reload, I asked for them to shave a little bit of the length off of the sleeves and the body. And I think it turned out really well. And again, pulling it back, and let's zip it up. My dimensions, I'm 5'9". I am 175 pounds. I think that from a width and shoulder standpoint, they really built a jacket that fits well on my kind of standard medium US size. I will say, I'm wondering if, from a motorcycle jacket standpoint, these sleeves do feel short because they ride up. But I'm not going to be riding a motorcycle with this jacket on. I don't ride motorcycles in general, and I think it's okay to have a little bit shorter of a sleeve. It makes me wonder, though, if I should just have left the sleeves alone. The body, on the other hand, I really do appreciate the shorter length. Previously it was about 1.5 inches longer in the body, and for me, this length basically feels perfect, feels great. This is a great length, and it was cool to learn that they're able to make those modifications. I would say there are some changes to the way that returns or exchanges work when they've created a custom jacket for you with different dimensions. So I pay close attention to that if it's something you're looking at doing. But that's pretty beneficial. I mean, in my experience, I'm almost always finding that standard size jackets can be a little bit long on me. And especially motorcycle style jackets are almost always having too long of a sleeve for me. So it's nice to be able to customize it. And I believe, at least whenever I reviewed the information on the customization section of the website, I don't believe that there's any additional cost. Something to confirm, something that may change with time if a lot of people are asking for that. I think it just depends, but in any case, it worked out well for me here from a fitment standpoint. For reference, if you're not familiar, I'm 5'9", 175 pounds. I have just over a 40-inch chest. I wear a 33 and a half sleeve dress shirt with a 15 and a half inch neck. Those are the kind of standard dimensions. I could get you other dimensions. You could just ask me in the comments below if there's some other sizing related question you have. I feel that size is probably the thing that folks have the most questions about, and everybody is different, and sometimes it's a bit of an art more than it is a science, finding the jacket that you're comfortable with depending how you match up against the standard sizing. Now, talking about how the jacket works on the body, it is very comfortable. I think that is at least in large part is due to the softness of the leather. There's not really a break-in process with this jacket. It was comfortable from day one, and that comes from that softness. I think that it's developed some creases on the arms a bit. I'm not sure exactly. They're not going to be able to be like, stiff rolls or any of that, because the leather has no stiffness to it. But I feel that the jacket is very comfortable while worn. I think that the action back helps to give some extra mobility between the shoulders. I like how it feels while worn. Sometimes an action back can feel a little funny. It can apply pressure in like weird spots over your shoulder blades. And I don't have any of that feeling with this. And I think comfort is one of the places where this jacket really shines. It's almost like the same comfort level as like a thick sweatshirt. Honestly, it's a very comfortable jacket. Talking about how it just works on the body is a little bit difficult to say that they have a really good idea of like the three-dimensionality of the human body within this jacket, because the leather is so drapey and so soft. Some thoughts about the design that I would like to share. One, I really like this zone here between the shoulder up to the collar and how the collar fits. I think that the collar is something that can be messed up or can be too long or too floppy. That they've done a really good job with this specific design on the collar, which is different from the design they had on the previous Daytona, the 224 that I wore. They deleted the wind flap and they changed the way the snap situation is up top. And I actually quite like this. And I just did something in this video, which I actually never do, which is I snapped it first. So let's see what happens as I zip it up. All right, that went fine. So there is still space for my neck. It is a rather trim fit. I think that it just is a very neat appearance up here, which I like, and it is comfortable. And I really appreciate that on the design for this. As you can see, this is a jacket where the zipper ends with a little bit of hem left beneath it, but there's some length after the zipper. This is a classic thing. Oh, excuse me, got something in the eye. That J100, the classic Buco Cafe Racer racing shirt style jacket, follows that same design aspect. And that jacket is a kind of a longer jacket in the body. And it lets the hem still, the zipper end at the waist. The jacket continues, and so because the zipper ends at the waist, if you bend over, it just allows you to bend at the waist, which is pretty important when you're trying to get into the riding position for that classic racing shirt style jacket. There is something from a design standpoint that I kind of wish that they had also pulled over from the J100, which is the way that the bottom hem looks in the back on this jacket feels out of place to me. It's the kind of thing that is fine. It is fine. But if you're really trying to make this jacket be more like that classic Cafe Racer style, it feels a little weird to me that it has the drop hem in the back. where it scoops down. I feel that a flat hem, and this is kind of nitpicking, kind of not. I mean, if we're talking about design inspiration for a jacket, they've clearly drawn so much design inspiration from the J100, but then the way that the back is done is not like the J100. So to me, it just feels a little bit out of place. I don't know. Think on that if that's something that is a problem for you. They don't advertise this jacket as a J100 copy or reproduction. It is a Daytona, which is its own thing that they have created. So it doesn't have to have that bottom hem in the back. But I think the jacket might look cleaner and feel more like a standard cafe racer, which is clearly the style that they're going for, if it did have that different back. That's a lot about the jacket itself and how it wears on the body and how it feels on the body and the hide and all that kind of stuff. So how does this jacket work with outfits, with clothes? Is it a versatile jacket? So this is a kind of, I would say, very standard setup that we have here. I've got jeans and a t-shirt. Now, I like to tuck my t-shirt in, and I think it looks great like this. It's a very kind of classic style. I think that this is the best way to wear this jacket, in my opinion. I think that it can work with other styles, but it kind of is begging for casual looks. It would be hard to dress it up. I think too that the leather and the kind of bulky bits and those things that are kind of cues for folks who are looking that this might be a cheaper jacket makes it a little bit harder to dress up. Now we have to get into, is it worth it? We've gone through all these categories and really just kind of sum it up. The pros for this jacket, the areas where the jacket really shines. It has a very comfortable feel. It is pretty good looking, I think, from both a design standpoint, and I think that the leather does look pretty good. The things the jacket does less well, even if the leather looks okay right now, I do think that with its softness, it's not going to last forever. This isn't like a tank of a jacket, you know? Other downsides would be, while the jacket works well together, I think that some of the details could be better. And I think this is the nature of jackets made in Pakistan. So you get what you expect in that sense. All of that we get in at $450. So $450 kind of means nothing unless you're comparing it to other things. I think it's an interesting place to be for looking at jackets under $500. People like round numbers. So, you know, the first place that I would go to when I'm thinking about comparing this jacket to something else is the Thursday Racer jacket, which I reviewed and I wasn't really impressed by. I could see someone making an argument for that jacket, basically that you really want something that is soft, almost disposable, $350, and it's in your size, is essentially the argument for that jacket. I think that for $100 more with this Master Supply Co. jacket, you get a much nicer design. And the jacket is still really comfortable. I mean, it is just, in my opinion, much, much better than the Thursday Racer for just $100 more. And if I'm just looking at those two jackets, I think that this jacket is no-brainer, the one that I would pick. And just in general, thinking about comparison to other mall jackets, if the Thursday Racer is essentially competition against mall jackets, then this is a style that's kind of hard to find with this particular set of details, and going for a thicker leather and trying to stay into that heritage style zone that you might or might not get those kind of details on a mall jacket. So in that realm, I think that the Master Supply Co. jacket really shines, and it's kind of, I would need to expand my range on other jackets in that under 500 category, but having it on, wearing it, and spending this time with it, if that's where you're looking, I think it really does well, and it's totally worth it. I think we can also compare it to a little bit more of an expensive jacket. So instead of the Master Supply Co. jacket being the expensive one in the comparison, what about a Vanson Comet? Now this is a jacket that goes for $150 more at $600. And so it's a pretty big jump. You know, I think that that's something that, to me, In the past, I've kind of just breezed past those differences, but $150 is $150. That's 33% more than the Master Supply Co jacket, which itself is roughly 33% more than that Thursday Racer. So, this can matter. And the big differences you get by jumping to, say, the Vanson Comet. The Comet just immediately, it's made of incredibly tough, incredibly durable materials. Something that is not as soft or as comfortable out the box in the way that this Master Supply Co jacket is with this very soft leather. But the Comet that it felt like you could drive a tank over it and then go pick the jacket up and it'd be fine. It was just so bomb-proof feeling that is pretty impressive. And it was also comfortable, which is kind of bananas if you think about it, to have a jacket made of such tough materials actually work well on the body and just be wearable and not get in your way. I think that something that can happen with a jacket like that, which bothers some people, is it can seem like too much, like you're trying too hard. You're not really riding a motorcycle. Why are you wearing that jacket? And that's a conversation that I have a lot. I think that's up to personal preference. I think that all that kind of goes by the wayside once your jacket is broken in. So when we're talking about a jacket like the Vanson Comet at its $600, right out of the box, it's not going to be anywhere near as approachable as this jacket. But in 30 or 40 wears and maybe a little bit of water involved in that, get caught in the shower or use the break-in method that I did a review about, you have a jacket that can really stand up to a lot of different things and be comfortable while doing so. So between those two jackets, between the Master Supply Co Daytona and the Vanson, you kind of have a hint here already, which is I've already owned a Vanson. I actually got rid of that jacket because I felt like the sleeves were too long, which is part of that whole motorcycle heritage thing. And, I think that it all, at this point, kind of gets to personal preference. Does $150 more make sense for you? Are you looking for a jacket that is easy to wear right away and is more fashion-oriented? Do you like the fashionability of things that are built extremely tough that you've worn in? Getting into that kind of realm, then you have to decide which makes sense for you. I think it's also worth noting, the Vanson jacket at $150 more is made in America. It's made in the USA. This jacket, the Master Supply Co Daytona, is made in Pakistan. If that matters to you, then, the scales tip based on your preferences here. But at least there's a conversation to be had about those things. And so that's a pretty compelling argument, I think, since this is a review about the Daytona. I think it's a pretty compelling argument for the Daytona, as a matter of fact, that it's able at least to be in the conversation for some folks to have a reasonable chance, a reasonable choice to choose this jacket over something like the Vanson Comet. So, all in all, if what you're really looking forward to is just something that's easy to wear out of the box, just right away. If you're looking for a jacket for fashion and not for riding on motorcycles, if you're looking for something under $500, and if you are okay with the trade-offs that I've discussed, then I think this jacket can be totally worth it. And I think clearly there are folks out there that are interested in buying jackets like this. The popularity for the brand does seem on the rise, and not just because of their marketing, which I mentioned in another video I think is a little cheesy, that they're really hitting kind of a sweet spot at that under 500 range. And hey, maybe if you're interested in getting into more heritage styles and you're not sure if that's really what you want, you could start off with a jacket like this and see how it fits into your style and kind of go from there. I know it could be daunting to jump straight to the $2,000 Rainbow Country jacket or the $1,200 jacket from Schott, or even the $600 Vanson Comet. And you want something that feels more approachable. So in that sense, I really think that there's a space for this jacket and they fill that niche really well. I would love to hear your thoughts. There were a lot of folks that commented on the previous video that they owned Master Supply Co. jackets or that they were looking forward to this particular review. Love to hear them. If you have any questions for me, hit me up in the comments down below. I love chatting, and I love it if you hit me up with those questions or comments or all that kind of stuff. Have a good one.